The red sun of Helion, 9 hung low in the sky, turning the endless sand into dark blood-colored waves. The land was silent. No bird, no insect, no wind. It was the territory of the Ragnar beasts, the most feared warriors in the sector. No human ever walked here and returned alive. But today, something impossible happened. A human woman was walking across the valley. Her steps were slow. Her clothes were torn. Dust covered her face. Her breathing was heavy, but she did not stop. In her arms, close to her chest, she held something wrapped in her jacket. She protected it like a mother protects her baby. It was a Ragnar cub, small, dark-furred, trembling in pain. One of its legs was bleeding. Its golden eyes were half open, full of fear. Every few seconds, it cried a soft, weak sound, and the woman, Mira, whispered, "It's okay. Stay with me. Just a little more." She had been walking for hours. Her arms hurt, her legs shook, but she did not let go. She knew the truth. If the Ragnar warriors found her here, they would kill her instantly. Humans were enemies. There was no trust between the two races. But she still walked deeper into their territory, carrying an injured cub like it was her own blood. Just as she reached a ridge of black stones, Mira heard a loud, sharp roar. She froze. Then another roar. Then a third. Within seconds, dark shapes appeared on the cliffs above her. Ragnar warriors. Huge, muscular, covered in bone plates and thick fur. Their eyes glowed with fiery amber light. Each held a spear, a blade, or a plasma hook. Their fangs were long enough to tear a human apart. Mira slowly raised her hands, showing she carried no weapon. The cub whimpered in her arms. A low snarl echoed above her. One of the Ragnar warriors saw the cub and roared with pure fury. "How dare a human touch our young?" he growled. Dozens more appeared, surrounding Mira from all sides. Their shadows closed around her like a cage. Any normal human would run, scream, or collapse in fear. But Mira stood still. Her heart hammered inside her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "He needs help," she said. "Please, he is hurt." The warriors stared at her with confusion and rage. A human speaking calmly in their territory? A human holding a Ragnar cub with no fear? Impossible. One warrior stepped forward, pressing the tip of his spear at her throat. "You dare walk here, human? You dare hold our child," he growled. Mira swallowed but did not step back. She gently lifted the wounded cub higher, letting them see the injury. "I found him alone in the canyon," she said softly. "Something attacked him. I stopped the bleeding. I kept him warm. I brought him to you." The warriors growled among themselves. Many wanted to kill her instantly. Others looked shocked. Then the earth shook. A heavy, deep rumble spread across the sand. Mira felt it through her boots. The warriors fell silent. A huge shadow rose behind the rocks. He appeared, the Beast Lord, Torgith, leader of the Ragnar clans, a creature taller than all others, stronger than all warriors, with black horns curved like blades and eyes that burned like molten gold. Every warrior bowed the moment he landed with a heavy thud. Mira felt her whole body go cold. The Beast Lord stared at her, then at the cub of her arms. His breathing changed. His eyes widened in recognition. It was his son, the only heir of the Ragnar throne. A deep growl came from his chest, not anger, not fury, something more dangerous. Shock, confusion, and a question he had never imagined he would ask. Why would a human carry my son? Mira slowly opened her jacket, so the Beast Lord could see the cub better. "He was alone," she whispered. "He was hurt. I couldn't leave him." The Beast Lord stepped closer. His shadow fell over her like a mountain. He could crush her with one strike. He could tear her into pieces for touching his bloodline. But he didn't. He looked into her eyes for a long moment, studying her face, her fear, and her honesty. The warriors around them tensed, waiting for his command. Kill her? Spare her? Or something far stranger? Mira braced herself for death. She whispered to the cub, "Stay brave, don't be afraid. I'm here." The small creature pressed its head weakly against her chest. A soft sound escaped it, a sound of trust. The Beast Lord noticed. His eyes narrowed. Why would his son show trust to a human? Finally, he spoke in a deep voice that echoed across the valley. You will come with me. Alive. Gasps came from his warriors. No human had ever been taken alive into the Ragnar stronghold. Mira exhaled in relief and fear. The beast lord took his son into his arms. The cub whimpered but did not resist. The beast lord looked at the blood-soaked cloth around the injury. You treated him, he said. Mira nodded. I did everything I could. His gaze hardened. If you lie, he growled softly, I will tear your world apart. Two warriors grabbed Mira by the arms, though gently compared to before. She did not fight. She whispered one last time, just help him, please. The beast lord turned away, carrying his wounded heir. Behind them, the warriors marched, surrounding Mira, and the valley once again fell silent, except for one growing question in every Ragnar mind. Why would a human save the beast lord's only son? The walls of the Ragnar stronghold were made of black stone, sharp and cold. The halls were silent, except for Myra's footsteps. She walked carefully, flanked by two warriors who gripped her arms firmly, but not violently. Their eyes still glowed with suspicion. Every shadow seemed alive, watching her. The beast lord, Torgith, carried his son ahead of her. The cub's small body trembled against the giant's chest, and Myra's heart ached. She wanted to reach out, but she kept walking, knowing any wrong move could end her life. Finally, they entered a massive chamber. Stone pillars rose like mountains, and at the center stood a circle etched with glowing runes. The air hummed with energy. Torgith placed his son gently on the floor. The cub yipped softly, but did not move away from him. Mira felt a strange warmth in the room, respect mixed with fear. Sit, Torgith commanded, his deep voice echoing. Mira did as told, kneeling carefully. She could feel the eyes of the entire council on her. Around the chamber, older Ragnar warriors and council members watched silently. Their faces were stone. Only their glowing eyes betrayed their anger. One council member stepped forward, a large male with scarred horns and a jagged blade in hand. This human walks in our lands carrying our young, he said, his voice low and dangerous. Does she deserve death or trust? Torgith's eyes narrowed. She will not speak yet, he said. We must see her truth. Myra's heart pounded. She had heard stories about the mind-scan ritual. No human had survived it before. The ritual could see a person's memories and intentions. If the council found even one lie, she would die instantly. A circle of glowing symbols lit the floor around her. Torgith gestured, and two warriors held her in place. Mira felt a tingling sensation crawl over her body, like electricity under her skin. The runes glowed brighter, and her memories began to play in her mind like visions. She saw herself days ago, walking through the rocky canyon. The explosion had thrown rocks everywhere. A tiny cub cried from beneath debris. She had rushed forward, lifted him gently, and used her jacket to stop the bleeding. She had fed him water from her canteen. She had fought off scavenger drones, and even a wild predator to protect him. The council watched silently as each memory played out in the air above her. Torgith's eyes did not leave hers. He saw everything she had done, the courage, the care, the sacrifice. She tells the truth, he said quietly. Her heart is honest. But one council member growled, humans are deceitful. They will lie to survive. We cannot trust her. Then watch her again, Torgith said, his voice like stone. See the courage she has shown in the face of death. Watch her loyalty to life, even ours. The chamber fell silent. Mira felt her legs trembling, but she refused to show it. The cub stepped closer to her. It had noticed her presence, even after being with Torgith. The little creature looked up at her eyes and pressed its head against her hands. You have risked your life for him, Torgith said slowly, almost to himself. And yet you are still here. The council members muttered. Many did not understand. One even whispered, it is unnatural, a human caring for a Ragnar child? Torgith ignored them. He turned to Mira. Tell me, human, why do you care for one who is not your own? Why do you risk death for him? Mira swallowed. Her voice shook, but she spoke clearly. Because he is afraid. He is alone. I couldn't leave him. Any creature in pain deserves help. It doesn't matter whose child he is. The room grew quiet again. Even the most skeptical council members stared at her, unable to deny the honesty in her eyes. Torgutha's gaze softened just slightly. He looked at his cub, then back at Mira. You would have protected him, even if I had commanded you not to? Yes, Mira said. Even then, I can't harm the innocent. A tense silence filled the chamber. Then Torguth spoke, his deep voice cutting through the stillness. You live for now. Mira blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. For now, she asked quietly. For now, he repeated. Your life is mine to decide. Human, you will remain here under watch. You will care for my son if you can. But lie to me or attempt to flee, and you will die instantly. Mira nodded. Her throat was dry. She didn't dare speak. The cub moved closer to her again, curling at her feet. Mira reached down and gently touched his fur. He shivered under her fingers but did not resist. Torguth watched silently, his expression unreadable. Mira realized she had just gained the trust of the most dangerous being she had ever faced. But it was only the beginning. A soft rumble shook the chamber. Myra's ears twitched. Something in the distance warned her that danger was far from over. And then she realized humans were not finished yet. Somewhere beyond the walls of the Ragnar stronghold, forces she had once called her own were preparing to strike. She had survived the first test, but the real battle was only beginning. Torgutha's golden eyes pierced hers. Your choices now will decide more than your life. Human, protect him or everything dies. The cub whimpered softly, and Mira whispered back, I will protect you. Always. Outside the chamber, shadows moved. The first signs of a human attack were approaching. The Beast Lord's test had ended, but Myra's true trial was only beginning. The sun had just disappeared behind Helion Nine's jagged mountains, and the valley was swallowed by darkness. The red sands now looked black in the fading light. Inside the Ragnar stronghold, Mira sat quietly, her back against the cold stone wall. She had been given a small room near the cub's chamber, where she could watch over him. The cub, whom Torguth had named Kale, slept quietly on a pile of soft furs. Mira gently touched his golden fur, making sure his breathing was steady. The events of the day replayed in her mind. How she had walked into a land where no human should survive, and somehow she had gained the trust of the Beast Lord. She thought she could finally rest. But then a faint sound made her freeze. It was soft, almost like a whisper on the wind, but it was there. Something mechanical. Something moving too smoothly to be natural. Mira got up silently and pressed her ear to the cold stone wall. Metallic humming. Small lights flickered in the distance. Drones. Her heart skipped a beat. She had seen drones like these before. Fast, silent, hunting machines. They were human-made, and they were not here to observe. They're looking for him, she whispered to herself. Kale stirred and yawned, sensing her fear. Mira gently stroked his head. It's okay, little one, she said softly. I'll keep you safe. The chamber door opened suddenly. 2 Ragnar guards entered, their weapons raised. Human, one of them said, his voice low. What is that sound outside? Mira shook her head. It's drones. I've seen them before. They're not here for us. They're hunting the cubs. The guards exchanged glances. One laughed harshly. Humans would dare hunt our young? Impossible. They exist, Mira said firmly. I saw them when I found Kale. They killed others, they would kill him too. Torguth appeared behind them, silent and imposing as always. His massive presence filled the room. He knelt to look at Kale. The cub whimpered softly and hid behind Mira. You saw them? Torguth asked, his deep voice dangerous. Mira nodded. Yes, and they're coming back. Soon. Torguth's eyes narrowed. Humans, he growled, his voice like a rolling storm. They dare cross into our lands? They're not all like me, Mira said quickly. Some are hunting you, hunting Kale. They would kill every cub if they could. The Beast Lord studied her. His eyes softened for a moment, then hardened again. Why do you tell me this? He asked. You are a human. You could use this as a chance to escape. Mira looked him in the eyes. I don't want to escape, she said. I won't let them hurt him. Not while I'm here. A silence followed. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Never had a human spoken with such courage in Torgatha's presence. Never had one refuse to flee while surrounded by death. You fight beside us, Torgath finally said. Then you will be part of this, for Kale's sake. If humans attack, you protect him or you die. Mira nodded, feeling a chill run down her spine. The weight of the threat pressed on her, but she also felt a strange pride. She had walked into this land alone. Now, she was no longer just a human. She was a guardian. Outside, the faint humming grew louder. Shadows danced on the walls as the drones moved closer. Myra's stomach tightened. She had to warn the warriors. She had to warn Torgath. But before she could speak, one of the council members entered the room, his horned face twisted in disbelief. You trust her? He barked at Torgath. A human? She has led us into danger already. Perhaps she has brought these machines with her. I trust her, Torgath said simply. His voice carried absolute authority. She has saved my son. That is proof enough. The council member growled, stepping back. Even he could feel the power behind the Beast Lord's words. Suddenly, the room shook. A deep rumble ran through the walls. Mira and the cub clung to each other instinctively. Dust fell from the stone ceiling. Outside, the drones had begun to attack. Their metallic bodies skimmed over the ground, scanning and searching. A loud metallic whirring echoed through corridors. The first drone appeared at the entrance of the chamber, its red scanning light piercing the darkness. Mira stood slowly, her eyes fixed on the machine. They're here, she said. And there's more. Torgath rose to his full height. His roar filled the chamber. Warriors grabbed their weapons and formed a circle around Mira and Kale. The cub whimpered again, sensing the danger, and Mira whispered, I won't let them touch you. I promise. Torgatha's golden eyes met hers. A silent understanding passed between them. They were now allies, the human and the Beast Lord. Together, they would face what was coming. The drone scanning lights moved closer. Myra's heart raced. Her mind worked fast, thinking of ways to protect Kale and warn the warriors. And in the shadows, something worse waited. Not just humans, but someone who wanted the cubs alive for reasons Mira didn't yet understand. The first attack was only the beginning. And Mira knew one thing with certainty. She had walked into the heart of danger, but she would not walk out alone. Kale looked at her, eyes wide and trusting. Mira clenched her fists. I will protect you, she said quietly, no matter what comes. The valley outside echoed with the hum of approaching drones. And inside, a new alliance, human and Ragnar, prepared for war. Far above Helion 9, in the dark command deck of a human starship, Commander Ralton stared at the flickering screen. His jaw was tight, and his hands clenched the edge of the control panel. The feed showed the valley below, the Ragnar stronghold, and one small human figure moving cautiously among the shadows. That's her, Ralton said, his voice cold. The traitor. The officers around him shifted nervously. One whispered, Commander, she's only one human. The Ragnar are enormous. Surely she cannot survive. Ralton's eyes burned with fury. Survive? She has survived long enough to ruin everything we've worked for. She's hiding the cubs, keeping them safe. That cannot happen. Not after all we planned. He turned to the tactical display. On the screen, drones hovered above the stronghold. Tiny, silent, deadly. They were built for precision. They would capture the Ragnar cubs alive. That was the goal. And this is why we cannot fail, Ralton said. Send in the retrieval units. The cubs must be taken. The human will either cooperate or die. One officer hesitated. Commander, you're sending them into the heart of Ragnar territory. Even with the drones, it's dangerous. Ralton slammed his hand down. Dangerous? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. If we lose the cubs, the research project fails. If the research project fails, the human race will fall behind. I will not allow a single woman to stand in our way. Prepare the strike team. Launch at dawn. He turned back to the screen. Myra's small figure moved across the valley floor. Dust rose under her careful steps. She carried herself with a strange courage that no human had ever shown. Ralton's eyes narrowed. She walks like she owns the land, he muttered, like a guardian. Foolish girl. She doesn't understand the forces she's facing. The communication officer spoke up nervously. Commander, sensors detect unusual energy signatures around the cub. It's unlike anything we've studied before. Could it be affecting the human's decisions? Ralton's eyes flashed with anger. It doesn't matter. She is a human. She will betray us eventually or die trying. Back on the planet, Mira could not have known what Ralton planned. She had survived Ragnar's judgment, gained the trust of the Beast Lord, and begun protecting Kale with all her heart. But above, human forces were gathering. Forces that would not stop for warning. Forces that would destroy anyone in their path. Ralton began issuing orders. Drones armed with non-lethal capture fields would move first, followed by strike pods carrying elite retrieval units. The cubs would be captured. Mira would be neutralized. Nothing could go wrong. That was the plan. But Mira was not like other humans. And Kale was not just any cub. As the command ship prepared its descent, a small crew member whispered, "Commander, what if she resists?" Ralton's smile was cold and thin. Then she dies, and the cubs die with her. It's simple. The crew went silent, but the tension in the room was thick. Even in space, something felt off. The humans were planning to enter the heart of an alien civilization, and the enemy they underestimated was not just a Ragnar, but the courage of a single human woman. Ralton tapped his fingers against the panel, staring at Myra's moving figure on the screen. She carried Kale as if he were her own blood. That image enraged him more than any act of violence ever could. She dares to defy me, he muttered. She dares to choose life over orders, over science, over control. That will end today. And so, with the strike team ready and drones hovering silently in orbit, the plan began. Below, the Ragnar Valley remained quiet. Mira did not know what was coming. The night stretched ahead, dark and full of danger. She only knew one thing for certain. She would protect Kale. The first wave of human machines would arrive before sunrise. And when they did, the real battle for the cubs and for Myra's life would begin. Torgith, standing in the stronghold, sensed the approaching threat, but said nothing. Mira, watching the stars, felt a chill. She whispered to Kale, "We're not alone, but we'll face them together." Above, Commander Ralton smiled. In his mind, everything was under control. But even the most carefully laid plans could not predict the strength of a human heart, nor the courage of a woman who chose to walk into the beast's territory carrying life in her arms. The night grew darker. The valley waited. And somewhere in the shadows, the first signs of attack moved silently closer. The first light of Helion 9's sun barely touched the red sands, but the valley was already alive with motion. Above, human drones hovered silently, scanning for Ragnar cubs. Below, Mira crouched behind a jagged stone. Kale pressed close to her chest. The cub's small body shivered, but she held him tightly. Torgith stood at the edge of the stronghold, massive and unyielding. Around him, Ragnar warriors took positions, their weapons ready. Mira felt her heart pound. She had trained for survival, but this was unlike anything she had faced before. Humans attacking with technology and firepower that rivaled even a Ragnar. "They are here," Mira whispered. Her voice was steady, but her eyes never left the sky. A low hum filled the air. Then the first drone descended, firing a scanning beam toward the stronghold. Mira instinctively raised her hands, shielding Kale. She took a deep breath and whispered, "Stay calm. I won't let them touch you." Torgith roared, a deep, terrifying sound that echoed across the valley. The Ragnar warriors responded with a thunderous cry, charging forward. Mira moved with them, blending her human agility with the rhythm of the beasts. The first drone fired its capture net. Mira leaped forward, pushing Kale out of the way. The net exploded against the stone, shredding harmlessly, but the drone kept firing. She grabbed a fallen weapon, a Ragnar energy spear, and hurled it with precision. The drone wobbled and fell, sparks flying from its circuits. Kale whimpered but did not panic. Mira gently hugged him again. "It's okay," she said. "You're safe with me." More drones descended. Mira ran, ducking behind rocks and barricades, her movements fluid and fearless. Ragnar warriors fought alongside her, their massive bodies tearing through human forces with raw strength. Sparks flew, metal twisted, and the air was thick with the smell of burning machines. Mira spotted another drone about to snatch Kale. She dashed forward, rolling across the sand and tackling the machine. Her fingers worked fast, tearing wires and smashing circuits. The drone fell to ground, lifeless. One Ragnar warrior shouted, "The human fights like one of us." Mira smiled briefly, though her lips were cut and blood streaked her face. "I fight for him," she said, keeping Kale safe. "That's all that matters." Above the valley, strike pods descended, carrying armed humans. They fired weapons that sent rocks flying and sparked fires across the sand. Mira saw one pod aimed directly at Kale's hiding spot. Without thinking, she jumped, covering him with her body. The blast hit the rocks beside her, showering her with dust and sparks. She felt the heat, the shock, but she did not cry out. Kale remained safe. Torga charged forward, his massive form clearing a path through the attackers. Mira followed, fighting alongside him and the Ragnar warriors. She threw stones, struck enemies with weapons, and moved with a courage that even the Ragnar had never seen from a human before. The humans faltered. Their precision could not match the raw unity of Ragnar and Mira. The cubs, including Kale, began to stir, their instincts sensing protection and strength around them. Ralton, watching from orbit, slammed his fist against the control panel. "Stop her. She cannot survive." But Mira had become more than human in that moment. She was guardian, protector, and warrior. Every strike she delivered kept Kale alive. Every move she made inspired the Ragnar. The warriors' roars grew louder and their movements faster. It was as if the valley itself had joined their side. A massive human weapon, a heavy plasma cannon, began to charge, aiming directly at the stronghold. Myra's eyes widened. She could not allow Kale to be destroyed. With a running leap, she climbed a rock, avoiding fire, and hurled a Ragnar explosive device toward the cannon. The blast detonated perfectly, disabling the weapon and sending a shockwave across the battlefield. The humans stumbled. Their formation broke. The drones crashed. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Mira grabbed Kale and ran toward Torgith. The cub clung to her, his small claws digging into her arm. "You've done well," Torgith said, his golden eyes studying her. "You fight not for glory, but for life. That is something no human I have ever met could do." Mira looked at him, panting and covered in dust. "I fight because he is alive," she said simply. "That's all that matters." The Ragnar warriors roared in agreement. Humans began to retreat, unable to match the unity and courage they were witnessing. Mira held Kale tightly, realizing something incredible. She had not just survived. She had changed the battle. She had proven that courage, empathy, and heart were more powerful than weapons. Torga stepped closer, placing a massive hand on her shoulder. "You are no longer a stranger here," he said. "You are one of us." Myra's eyes met Kale's. The cub's trust and warmth filled her heart. In that moment, she knew the fight was far from over, but they had won today, and she would protect Kale, no matter what. The sun rose higher, casting light over a battlefield that was quiet now. The humans had retreated, but the valley was forever changed. Mira had walked into the beast's territory as a stranger and had become a hero. But deep in the shadows, Commander Ralton's anger burned. He would return, and the war for the cubs was far from over. Mira tightened her hold on Kale. She whispered, "No one will take you, not today, not ever." The Ragnar warriors cheered, and Mira stood among them, human and alien united, ready for whatever came next. The sky over Red Valley burned with the orange glow of Helion 9's rising sun. Smoke from the previous day's battles still drifted across the sands. Mira held Kale tightly, standing at the edge of the stronghold. Her body ached from the fight, and blood streaked her clothes and face, but her eyes burned with determination. Torga stood beside her, massive and imposing, watching the horizon. The Ragnar warriors had repaired their defenses and gathered around the cubs, but a low rumble shook the valley. Myra's stomach tightened. "They're coming back," she whispered. Above, the human strike fleet had returned, but this time it was worse. A massive superweapon floated down from orbit, a weapon capable of destroying the entire valley in minutes. Its core glowed a deadly red. The humans wanted Kale, and if they could not capture him, they would obliterate everything. Ralton's voice echoed from the fleet. "Destroy the stronghold. Leave nothing alive." Myra's heart pounded. She looked at the cubs hiding behind the Ragnar warriors. Kale's small eyes met hers, wide and trusting. "I will not let them touch you," she whispered. "Not today, not ever." Torga growled, his voice like rolling thunder. "The valley will fight. Every warrior here stand with you, human, but the weapon, it is too powerful." Mira took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do. She would get to the weapon's control beacon. She would stop it, even if it meant risking her life. "I'll go," she said firmly. "Kale, stay safe." The Beast Lord's eyes widened, and a moment of doubt crossed his massive face. "It is suicide," he roared. "I have no choice," Mira said. "If I don't, he dies. All of them die." With that, she sprinted across the rocky terrain, dodging fire from human drones. Sparks and energy beams flew past her as explosions shook the ground. Ragnar warriors roared behind her, holding back the attacking forces. But Mira kept her focus on the beacon. Her legs burned, her lungs burned, but she did not stop. Kale's face appeared in her mind, and that was all the strength she needed. A squad of human soldiers spotted her and fired. Mira rolled behind a rock, firing back with a salvage weapon she had grabbed from the last battle. She climbed higher, leaping from rock to rock, until the beacon towered above her. Its control panel glowed ominously. The countdown had begun. 10, 9, 8. Myra's hands moved quickly, her fingers smashing buttons, rerouting power, and overriding the system. Sparks flew, and a warning siren blared. 7, 6. A human soldier lunged at her. She struck him aside with a brutal kick, then turned back to the beacon. 5, 4. Her heart raced. Sweat stung her eyes. She could hear the weapons hum, ready to annihilate everything. She pushed harder, using every ounce of strength she had left. 3, 2. The Ragnar warriors roared from below, breaking through human lines. Torga himself smashed into enemy soldiers, clearing a path for the others. 1. With a final surge of energy, Mira activated the override. The superweapon shuddered, then powered down. Silence fell. The humans froze. Their plan had failed. Mira collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily, her arms shaking from exhaustion. The cubs were safe. Kale ran to her, pressing against her chest. She hugged him tightly, tears mixing with dust and blood. Torga approached, placing a massive hand on her shoulder. "You have done what no human could," he said, his voice filled with respect and awe. "You saved your life and ours." Mira looked at the cubs, then at the Ragnar warriors around her. They had all fought together, side by side. She had walked into the heart of danger and become their protector. Ralton's fleet retreated, his anger palpable even from orbit. Mira knew this battle was won, but the war was far from over. Yet at that moment, none of it mattered. She had protected Kale, and that was enough. The cub pressed its small face against hers. "Thank you," Mira whispered, smiling through her tears. Torgutha's golden eyes softened. "She is one of us now," he said to the council. "Not by birth, but by courage and heart." The Ragnar warriors roared in approval. Mira stood among them, battered but victorious. She had faced death and come out stronger, proving that courage, compassion, and loyalty could defy even the deadliest weapons. Kale looked up at her and chirped softly. Mira smiled and whispered, "I will always protect you." The valley was quiet now. The humans had failed. The alliance between human and Ragnar had survived its greatest test. And Mira, the human who had walked into the beast's territory carrying life in her arms, had become a hero. The sun rose higher over Red Valley, casting long shadows across the sands. Mira held Kale, ready for whatever came next, knowing that together they could face anything. The dust had settled over Red Valley. The human fleet had retreated, their superweapon destroyed, and the valley stood scarred but alive. Mira sat on a rock, holding Kale close. The cub nuzzled her gently, trusting her completely. Around them, the Ragnar warriors repaired their fortifications and tended to the injured. Their eyes, once suspicious of her, now glimmer with respect and awe. Torgith, the beast lord, approached slowly. His massive form cast a long shadow over Mira and the cub. His golden eyes, fierce during battle, now held something softer, gratitude, admiration, and a newfound understanding of humans. "You saved them all," he said quietly. "My son, the cubs, the warriors, even our lands. You risked everything." Mira shook her head. "I didn't do it for praise. I did it because it was right. Because he needed someone to protect him. That's all that mattered." Torgith's massive hand rested gently on her shoulder. "And yet, by doing what was right, you have done more than any human or Ragnar could ever have imagined. You have shown courage, loyalty, and heart. You have shown what it means to be truly alive." Mira looked down at Kale. The little cub chirped softly, pressing its tiny head into her chest. She smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "He's safe," she whispered. "That's all I ever wanted." The Ragnar Council stepped forward. The older warriors, who had once demanded her death, now bowed before her. One elder spoke in a deep, reverent voice. "She is no longer a stranger. She has walked into our lands, faced death, and protected life as if it were her own. From this day forward, she is one of us." A roar of approval echoed through the valley. Mira felt a warmth she had never known. She had entered this world as an outsider, carrying only courage and compassion, and now she had become part of something greater, a bond between species, united by heart and bravery. Torgith knelt before her, placing Kale between them. "Your actions have changed us," he said. "Perhaps one day humans and Ragnar can walk together, not as enemies, but as allies." Mira nodded slowly. "I hope so. I want a world where trust and life matter more than fear and war." The cub stepped forward, climbing onto her lap. Mira held him tightly, feeling the bond between them grow stronger. He chirped happily, and she laughed softly, the first genuine laugh she had felt in days. Torgith watched her, then addressed the warriors. "See what courage looks like. See what it means to protect life beyond your own kind. This is a lesson for all of us. Let it be remembered." The valley was quiet now, except for the soft sounds of recovery and the cub's gentle chirps. Mira looked out over the sands, imagining the future. She knew that the humans would return, that challenges were not over. But for the first time, she felt hope. Kale nuzzled her face. Mira smiled and whispered, "We'll face it together, always." The Ragnar warriors cheered, surrounding Mira and the cub. She had proven that even one human, guided by heart and courage, could stand against the deadliest odds. Her choices had saved lives, built trust, and forged an alliance that could change the fate of worlds. And as the sun rose fully over Red Valley, casting golden light over sand and stone, Mira realized something powerful. She had walked into the beast's territory carrying life in her arms, and in doing so, she had carried hope for an entire species. She had become one of them. She had become a hero. Kale chirped again, climbing into her arms. Mira held him tightly, smiling through tears and dust. Around them, the Ragnar warriors roared, the cubs chirped, and the valley seemed alive with possibility. Mira whispered softly, "We did it! Together!" Torgith placed a massive hand on her shoulder, and for a moment, human and Ragnar were equals, bound by courage, heart, and trust. The story of Mira, the human who defied fear and saved life, would be told for generations. A tale of hope, bravery, and the extraordinary power of a single choice. The stars above Red Valley shone brightly, as if acknowledging her courage. And somewhere deep in space, Commander Ralton's fleet retreated, knowing that the human they had tried to control had become something far greater than any weapon or plan. Mira held Kale close. She looked at the horizon, ready for whatever came next, because she was no longer just a human. She was a protector, a hero, and a part of something far bigger than herself. And in the heart of the beast's territory, she had found her true place.